Okay, what I could sum up with John Cage is that he's probably was probably one of the most interesting and greatest conceptual mind, a mind that was dealing with conceptuality and concepts, probably of the 20th century in many ways. And whether, and it wasn't that I was enamored necessarily by the works that he created. Some of them, were more interesting than others, but conceptually, it was really, really very, very interesting, right, to be involved. I mean, lots of people say, well, what's this 4 minutes and 33 seconds? Obviously, that's his most famous piece, 4 minutes and 33 seconds. Arguably his most famous piece. And so what's that all about? There's nothing, there's nothing. And I said, well, there is something actually in the piece. I mean, yeah, if you're judging it as a piece of music or even of sound, yeah, the sound is what's going on in the space where the piece is being done. Which is basically, if it's done with a piano, which is typically how it's done, it can be done with any instruments actually. If you look at the score, it's a blank score, it's for any instrument. And it's not the original is not necessarily blank, but it has measures, because he added it all up. The way it's done more often than not is with a timer. Because it's 3 movements. People say, 3 movements of nothing? Yeah, 3 movements of nothing. So he used chance procedures to gauge how long each movement was. Right? By throwing dice or eaching sticks, he determined the duration of the piece. So like I say, you could read it, count out each measure, and then that would be the first movement, and then count out the next movement. But most people use a timer, so fine. So it's kind of a piece about nothing. And I said, well, no, it's not a piece about nothing. It's a piece that kind of tells you, or informs you that any sound around you can be framed and put in a certain way that it's something beyond just what you would normally not even pay attention to. Because when that piece is normally done, and let's say you're in a concert hall, well, people start coughing and people start shuffling around, and because nothing else is going on, you kind of start noticing that more than you might when something else is being done. An ambulance goes by and you hear the siren, or people ruffle papers, whatever it might be. You start paying attention to those sounds in a different way than you would have otherwise. So for me, that concept, and the other concepts too. Okay, chance procedures where I'm divorcing myself for the exact duration of this piece and letting it kind of go by throwing sticks or throwing dice to gauge it. Those are all concepts that for me are kind of interesting. I mean, like I say, some performances may be more interesting, the sounds, than others, because it depends on what's going on around you. But the concept for me, this idea, right, of presenting this work like that to try to focus on what's around you, I think is extremely, extremely important. Now, some people think that Cage ruined music because he said, because basically he's kind of suggesting that any sound, any noise, anything can be music. So so the people that are working on their scales over and over and over again, and suddenly walk into a space where where you can bang on a wall or slam on a table or whatever, and that's part of a piece, are probably wondering what the heck's going on. And I know that he caught lots of flack from people from that camp over the years, because the stories I heard, John wouldn't really talk about that too much, but Feldman told me all these stories that were incredible, where Cage was at Juilliard, and David Diamond, was a wonderful composer, but extremely conservative. I mean, he was writing like Mozart and Beethoven. That's a slight exaggeration, but not much. Kind of got up and pounded on the table and said, "You've ruined music for." So I get it, I get it. And Feldman was in part of that New York school. New York school was kind of Cage, and then these people that hung out together with him, and they influenced each other. But I know that he and Feldman didn't always agree on some matters. So like I say, I think that the man was very important. Conceptually and otherwise, and I just gave you a little blurb with the 4 minutes and 33 seconds and why I think that's important. I mean, people talk about the theatrical aspect too, because the pianist opens and closes the piano lid to more or less imply the movements, because it's 3 movements. But he or she just sits there. So, but it's interesting. I've done the piece with my ensemble, and it's interesting how people react. Now, some people know what it is, but the ones that don't know what it is. And it's amazing because 4 minutes and 33 seconds is really a long time for not doing anything. Nothing's going on. I mean, I basically, when I do it in my ensemble, I conduct it and I give a downbeat. And I put my hands. And then after the minute, each movement is roughly 1:30 seconds. After the 1:30 seconds, because I have a timer, obviously, a clock. After the 1:30 seconds up, I cut them off. And then I get them ready again and I give a downbeat. And and like I say, the ones that know what's going on, they're kind of, all right, they know what's going on. But the ones that don't know, it's like, and even the performers have kind of a cathartic experience because they're sitting there for that long. They're not used to doing that. Just focus, they have to put their instrument like they're going to play, but they don't play. And they kind of look either at me or at the stand. And afterwards they say, it's really a weird experience, Orlando. It's really weird to do that. It's,